Hi, welcome back. I'm Joe, and this is the Ultimate Love Letter. Thank you for joining the conversation. I've been feeling kind of sentimental lately. So it's such a relief to be able to just engage in these conversations with you, my beautiful listeners. It's been therapeutic. I'm often starting to realize, like, how did I express or release the thoughts and just all that I wanted to share in the past? Like, how did I have this beautiful release that I'm able to do now, whenever inspiration strikes. But I wonder, like, wow, what was I doing before then? And then, of course, I'm quickly reminded that it was basically me and God. When I had things pop up in my life and I needed to just use someone or something as a sounding board, it was definitely God every time. And so now it's you. And so thank you for being that for me. And thank you, God, for readying me and preparing me, to say, obviously these conversations that I've had with God over the years and just using God as a sounding board and just being comforted by Him, that now He feels that I'm qualified to be able to express these thoughts and these beliefs with you, with each other. So thank you again for being that for me. And what I wanted to get into today is, I want to start with a question. What would you do? How would you live if you literally knew tomorrow was not promised? And I'll go a step further and to say, and if you knew at the end of it, you were going on to this blissful, beyond peaceful place where you would be rather restored physically, mentally, where you would be joined with family, friends, with the creator of the universe. If you knew there would be no more worry, no more pain, no more anxiety, pain of any kind, right? Mental, physical, spiritual, any of it. If you knew at the end of that time, the end of your life, you would be going there guaranteed, how would you live today? I was thinking about this morning, two young women that we lost a couple years back now. It's almost 2 years back. And I want to share their brief stories with you and how I often think, like, wow, how would they have spent their final days, their final months, if they knew it was all coming to an end so quickly? Because we're not guaranteed, not even the next second. Like, let that penetrate. The things that we often find that are so important today, climbing a corporate ladder, or the anxiety of finding a mate, or just needing to purchase a home, or overly hoarding money. Money for what? It's just, I think often in death, it really puts things into perspective. And so I want to share about one of the young women. It's so interesting, actually, these beautiful, women, both young women. I mean, mid-30s, early to mid-30s. Both passed within 6 months of each other, did not know each other, but ironically, they passed in similar situations. Actually, both very similar. One, a beautiful young nurse. And I must say, these weren't close girlfriends of mine. They were girlfriends of my girlfriends. Actually, they were both best friends of close girlfriends of mine. And so I did have the opportunity to spend time with both of them, going shopping and having lunch and museums. And so I was able to spend time with them very close to the end of their lives. And so one woman, the young nurse who, from what she explained, who always wanted to be a nurse since childhood, the last conversation we engaged in is she was telling me about a class that she had been wanting to take, which was, oh my goodness, I should have thought about this before I forget the name. It's those classes where you are wrapped in silk scarving and you're doing you're in, not introverted. I'm introverted sometimes. Where you're doing upside down, flips, and you're swinging from a tarp and you're inverted rather. I think you may know what this is. A beautiful course, very graceful. And I had never done it. It was like on a flying tarp or whatnot. And as she was speaking to me, and I could just see the passion that she had for it and wanting to participate in this, she actually encouraged me. I was like, my goodness, you're so passionate about it. I need to check it out. I've never done anything like this. And I told her, why don't we take a class together? And she said, how about you take a class on your own? I feel, she told me, that I need to take a private class. Like I would need to secure a private session. She said, I just have this anxiety about being around people and having them see how good or not, or lack thereof, I am of the practice. I'm just starting out. So I think that I need to do this on my own when I'm ready. And I said, I totally get it. So I booked that class, within a week or so. And I took it and I loved it. And I couldn't wait to see her again, to share that I had taken her up on her suggestion. And so I saw her maybe about a month later. And I couldn't wait to tell her, hey, I engaged and this is what to expect. And the teacher was so gracious. And she paused the class to make sure I understood, how the class would go. And she helped me in and out of the scarfing, the tarp. And she helped me balance and made sure I was able to do the different postures. And she just marveled at me, this young woman. And when I was done with my story, I'd asked her, have you engaged in your class? And she says, nope, not yet. I'm still waiting. I'm still trying to get a hold on my fear, my anxiety. I haven't done it yet, but I look forward to doing it one day. Well, that one day never came. She was one night with friends and walking in the middle of the street in incoming traffic in the middle of the night, after hanging out at the bar and, having a beautiful night. And she was struck by a car, and it was a horrible death. And I often think about her like the anxiety that just held her back, that paralyzed her from living out some of the most beautiful moments that I want to say should have come to pass. But again, God knows our life, it's written out. Although I do believe that we are able to engage in destiny, and we create our life. We co-create our life with God. That is clear. And so I wonder, wow, if she would have known that, life was coming to an end that year, would she have been really anxious to take that class? Would she really have given a damn if other students were watching her on? And for the record, I took the class. Students were beautifully watching me on and encouraging me. I often think she would have been met with the most gracious, most beautiful people that were just supporting her on and her new journey, and would have been happy to embrace her and engage her and welcome her in. And that's only one little aspect of her life that I knew, because again, this was a friend that was more of a friend of a friend. But I'm so honored that I was able to know her for the brief time and speak to her about her dreams. And yeah, what would she have done? What else was she afraid of doing? And the experiences that she was afraid of living, because she was wrapped up in her mind with this anxiety that is really acting as just a prison for ourself. You know what I've noticed? No one gives a damn. No one's really paying attention to us. When we're going out in life and we're thinking, oh, I can't do this because this person's watching, or I shouldn't be seen with, this is a real conversation I've had with my mother, I can't be seen with the Goodwill bag because the neighbors will see. Who gives a damn? For one, they don't care. And for me personally, I love sharing that I love to Goodwill shop. I love thrifting. I love it. I love to be able to share that I wear repurposed clothing. What are we so overly concerned about that it's stopping us from living out our life fully and completely? Have you ever seen I saw this on Instagram once, this reel where there was ants that were walking around on a floor, and then someone comes and they draw with pencil a square, and then all of a sudden the ant is just confined to this square. I mean, they could technically walk over the image, but all of a sudden they're just boxed in from this anxiety of, what is that? Can I cross that? Yes, you can absolutely cross that safely. But we're just held in with this thought in our mind that is preventing us from doing those things and living out those moments that you are dying to live out. And none of it is guaranteed. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not getting out of here alive. So what are you doing with this time, with this short stretch? My brother, I only have one brother. He's an older brother, and he's 4 years older than me. And he is battling with the thought of heaven and hell. And he goes back and forth. 1 year he'll believe in God and hire something else, and he'll get really into it. And then the next year you talk to him and he's like, I don't believe anymore. I don't know if I believe, rather. And it's like, I was telling him the other day, you got to settle this issue once and for all. And if you don't believe in an afterlife, boy, you better get busy living, because the majority of your life is already behind you. And I certainly am saying that to myself, get busy living. And I believe in heaven, but I also believe I have this one life. And I don't know if you believe in reincarnation, and I definitely do. I've come to believe in reincarnation. So I do believe that it's possible that I may live again, but I have this one life to live as me. In this era, in this shell, in this way, one life. So what will I do with this one life? When I come back again, if I come back again, I'm intending to be a beautiful animal in the ocean. That's to be determined. But you have this one life here and now. What will you do with it? Now, the second story I'm going to tell you about, again, the best friend of one of my best friends. She had come, and I'd only met her one time. Well, one weekend. She came for the weekend to visit my girlfriend 3 weeks before she died. And so I got an opportunity to spend with her and just understand how brilliant this woman was. And she was living out her calling as well, which was she traveled from South America, and she was living in Mexico studying. Beautiful activist, just a beautiful being. And she had come to the US only to see my girlfriend. And so we had a beautiful weekend together. And one day I saw her. We had went to shops in Chinatown, and I saw her. And I don't understand really why I just was drawn to that moment. Well, probably because I'm always in the present moment, or at least I strive to be. But I found myself in awe of her, going carefully in and out of the shops, selecting the most delicate, the most beautiful gifts for her daughter back home. And she was taking her time, and she was going in one shop, selecting one little trinket, then going into the next shop and making sure that she looked at every single little thing before she would select the next item. And at one point in one of the last shops, I see that she was holding like 3 items, and she was kind of deciding which one to get and kind of putting one back and picking up another. And I remember it occurred to me, not that she said it, but just again with my third eye, I don't know how I know this. I know this just with my senses and my intuition. But to me, it was almost like she was deciding, she was considering rather her budget. And she was selecting things that were lovely and beautiful that her daughter would enjoy, also considering how much she was spending, which is the responsible thing to do when you're traveling for an extended amount of time. She went back home after that trip, and 3 weeks later, we got a call that she was riding her bike, and a truck didn't see her and turned in front of her, and she was killed. And it was quite obviously devastating. And I often think about her last moments, her last weekend, rather, with us in Los Angeles. And just the time that she had, and that she was living out her dreams. And I think about those gifts that she was selecting for her daughter. And I told my girlfriend, you've got to find those gifts. You've got to go to her apartment, find those gifts, and make sure her daughter gets those gifts. And I thought, what would she have selected had she known this was the last gift that she would be giving her daughter? Like, what would she have left behind? Surely the gifts that she selected were so intentional and so well thought out. But, I wonder, what would you have given her had you known what more, what less would you have given her had you known this was the last gift? And life has a beautiful way of supporting us grandly in the present. So what I mean by that is, although yes, when we're moving through life, we want to kind of think about tomorrow and next month, and so that we're not reckless in the present. But I often find that when we really just, for the most part, think about the present and live in the present like there's no tomorrow, with more regard and more just relish of this moment, then our future moments are taken care of. And that means everything. That means finances. That means family. That means the house that you are dreaming of owning. If you can somehow really just be centered in the present and do the things that you long to do, that you want to do, buy the things that are really on your heart to buy for your loved ones. What you're also doing is you're trusting that there's no scarcity. You're trusting that whatever I need tomorrow will be taken care of because I'm taking care of today. I'm living in alignment with what the present moment, the present emotions are serving up. That's the magic of life. And so I want to ask you, what would you do? What would you buy? Who would you see? Who would you call? Where would you go? What would you do if you knew your day was coming to an end this summer? Because for both those women, that was their last season. There would be no other season on earth. When I'm afraid to do certain things, because, anxiety does come in, I really remember that. I really remember the present. God says, I meet you in the present. All we have is the present moment. When we think about next week at 3 p.m., by the time we get into, God willing, next week at 3 p.m., it will arrive as the present moment. And what unfolds next week at 3 p.m. will be a result of how we lived in this moment. What will you do? My intention is that you live grandly and freely and really decide for yourself what's important today based on the fact that one day, actually soon, soon could be 20, 30, 40, 50 years, but really it goes by like a blink of an eye. One day soon, this will all be over. You cannot take your corporate job with you. You cannot take the money in the bank, the assets, the home, the car with you. What will you do today? I'll just leave one more story. I thought I was going to end it there, but I'll just drop one more story because this just happened recently. I have a stepfather who I love, and I have a biological father who had a beautiful childhood with. I was his princess, and we were very close. But after he and my mom divorced, wasn't so close with him as I had hoped, as I wish we could have been. But nonetheless, I still love him. We still get together several times a year. So he just had his 70th birthday last week. And I remember a few months ago, well, about 6 months ago, he asked me, he says, I'm going into my 70th birthday. He says, will you plan for me that birthday? It's a special one. It's a big one. And I said, Dad, if I'm going to plan your birthday, it's going to be overseas. And he said, absolutely. He says, it is my dream to go overseas. My girlfriend, his girlfriend, who he's been with 30 years, he says, she wants to explore the world. Please, just give me the okay, or the word, and I'm going to get my passport, right? He's never had a passport at 70. I'm going to get my passport and just tell me where we're going. And I said, absolutely. And I said, this is the word, get your passport. So as the months were going, I checked in with him. He hadn't gotten his passport, but I'm still thinking, it's okay. He'll get it. We got time. I had selected for us to go to some place in the Caribbean, all-inclusive resort, and I kept the budget as low as basically a minimum that you could have gotten for a quality, accommodations. Like people, it doesn't get any cheaper than this to go internationally and to gain, all that we were getting, drinks, food, activities. It was like the bottom dollar. And I said, here we go, Dad. This is what I have for us. I have these options. This is the price. Let me know which location, you agree. And it was like the next day. He sends my brother to call and say, oh yeah, we're not going to be doing that. I can't spend that. Now, I'm going to just tell you how much. It was like $1,000. $1,000 for a week in paradise. All you got to pay is $1,000 and your flight to get there. So let's just say, $1,500, right? Because this is the Caribbean. We're in the U.S. $1,500. And you're going to have a week in paradise, an experience that you've never had before, an experience that you say you're dreaming to have. And he says, too much. I said, okay, God bless you. I ended up going to the Caribbean. But I had dinner with him, his 70th just passed, and we had dinner. And, and I couldn't help myself but tell him we could have been, here, in this beautiful island. And he started listing off things that he had, obviously things that he had acquired in the time, all totaling way more than the $1,000 to take this dream trip that he said he had been dreaming about. But I just thought to myself, if not now, when? Like, when are you going to live out that dream? When? We're not promised tomorrow. You're so concerned about making sure, and it's important, making sure the mortgage is paid, but the mortgage is going to be paid. We all understand that. You're so concerned with just a dollar amount that you can't even allow yourself to just trust that just like the last 70 years, how everything was taken care of, the next year will be taken care of as well. To step out in faith and in that trust to say, this is a dream. I want to have this experience. I'm going to risk, right? Because I'm sure it feels like a risk. I'm going to risk this $1,000 to go have this vacation. No, that wasn't a priority. He did but show me a $2,000 bracelet that was acquired. But something that, you're going to be able to take that with you. Like, to each its own. But I'm just thinking that scarcity mindset, is only holding us back. There is no scarcity. You're making the scarcity with your mind. If you trust that there will be enough resources, enough money, enough to make our rent, our mortgages in the future like it's always been, and you're just responding to the present and what you desire, and you're trusting in the present, tomorrow will be taken care of. So now I'm really going to leave you with that thought. What will you do if this was your last season? My intention is that you go live life to its fullest because you deserve it. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing, sharing this message with someone. Also, just as a beautiful reminder to go live, go be playful, go be bold, go be adventurous. If that's your desire, maybe you have another desire. All I'm suggesting is whatever it is, the things that you want to do and be and have and attain, now's the time. Now's the time. Live boldly and live freely. Thank you for joining the conversation. Please reach me. I'm available on all social sites at The Ultimate Love Letter. I'm on TikTok at Joe Galvan. But otherwise, my threads, my Instagram, it's all The Ultimate Love Letter. The Ultimate Love Letter. Reach me there. Until next time, we'll chat soon. And I have a little announcement later on in the week. So tune in for that. All right. Love yourself and love others. We'll chat soon.